change the world by changing me. And I want to observe that one could misinterpret that and say, I don't have to bother changing the world, all I have to do is change me, and the world will magically change thereby. That's kind of a perverse form of New Age thinking that is not accurate. Because there's a second part. Yeah, there's a second part to that. I change the world by changing me. It's also I change me by changing the world. Because as we go out there and have these interactions and relationships, we discover parts of ourselves that we didn't know existed, and are called upon to offer gifts that we didn't know we had. It's normal and expected that self and world are linked in this way, because we are not, and this has been coming up again and again. Helena said it, our fundamental oneness with all of life. We are not separate from the world. And I ask, what is this alliance really about? What are we allies in? We sense sometimes an alliance, and we're trying to feel it out. You know, what is racial justice, healing racism? What does that really have to do with climate change? And we can talk about environmental justice and things like that, and we're starting to get an inkling that, yeah, these things are related, but what does that have to do with holistic healing modalities and regenerative agriculture? And what does that have to do with quitting school to go take care of your dying father for a year? We sense that we are allies in the same thing as we pursue these different things. And I think that what unifies us is that we are all in service to a new and ancient story of who we are, what the world is, what reality is, and how to interact with it, and how things change. We, and I say we to mean the dominant culture, have lived in a certain story for a long, long time. A story of separation from each other, separation from nature. And yeah, we have like this inkling that that is not a true story. We have an inkling that what we do to the world, we do to ourselves, and that what happens to any human being in any species is happening to ourselves. But our ideology and our economic system militate against that understanding. I'll just say where we need to go is to see nature as something sacred, something alive, so that we don't preserve this rainforest in order to offset the carbon of some other rainforest that we're cutting down, and we kind of add up the figures and we make the decision based on that. We preserve it because the ancestors are buried there. We preserve it because it's sacred. We preserve it because we love it, because we see it as a being deserving of life. And that, to me, bespeaks the necessity of really going beyond economic localization, although that's an inseparable part of it, where we understand that our way of seeing the world is part of the problem, and understand that we are so conditioned to that we are almost helpless in our unthinking replication of it in everything that we do, which calls upon us to maybe stop. We can't just parachute in with our made in America solutions and say, well, you know, we were wrong about the mega dams and the nuclear power plants and the centralized infrastructure, but now we know the solution, so listen to us this time. How do we know that we're not reenacting the same pattern? So there comes a moment to stop and to listen, and to the things that we've marginalized, to the things that are local to every place on earth. Not only their ways of living in relationship to the land, but also their ways of knowing, their stories, their theories of change. We see the dissolution of our old narratives, which is cause for hope. Here we're talking about hope. And we look at the breakdown and the crisis, and it looks pretty dark, but big change happens this way.